Hello, Keith Marchiano, Pax8 Academy, Program Manager for Sales Enablement, and welcome to another Result Selling Framework podcast. Selling IT services is hard. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. We're working with prospects that don't know much about you personally or about your company. They may be having some challenges, but are they enough to make a switch? Over 60% of opportunities with a prospect result in no decision. I'm going to repeat that. 60% of opportunities result in no decision. So we're not only up against our competitors, we're up against them staying with the status quo. So what does that tell us? Either one, we're not doing a great job of uncovering problems and going deeper, or they didn't have a problem to begin with that was urgent enough to make that switch and to overcome that fear of change. So that's the biggest hurdle. We have to look at that, and also not to look and sound like a commodity, especially in IT services world. Our buyers don't really know how to buy our services. They get a referral and typically go with that and hope for the best. So we've got 3 to 4 meetings tops to go from start to them becoming a client. And we've got to build this know, like, and trust relationship around that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Also, if you can, wherever you're streaming, make sure you like and subscribe to the Result Selling Framework podcast, whether it's on YouTube or any of your streaming services. And kind of stay in touch, because we're not just talking about Result Selling Framework. We're talking about sales in the IT services industry. So stay tuned for this exciting episode of Result Selling Framework. All right. Welcome to Result Selling Framework. I am happy and privileged to have Kevin Hughes with me, strategic advisor for Ascentient. They're an IT services company out of Illinois. Welcome to Result Selling Framework podcast.
Keith, I'm happy to be here. Super stoked to do this, and just hope I can share some knowledge on to other MSPs.
Yeah,
definitely.
Name of the game, right? That's, kind of the game is from a sales standpoint or whatever we are. That's the beauty of our industry, is that how can we help the others in the industry?
Yeah, and for me personally, I've been on a long journey. I started as a sales admin. And now I've worked up to being, in charge of revenue at our company and being that strategic advisor for our clients, from a technology standpoint, but from a business standpoint. So 11 years now.
Strategic advisor, is that another creative term for salesperson?
That is a creative. You might have advised me on that creative term, but yes, yeah. I'd like to think I'm strategic in some capacity. So.
We should be. Yeah, and I like that from a standpoint. That's what we should be in this sales mindset. So why don't you give the audience a little intro, background on yourself, and the one thing we like to do is one fun fact, something that you like to do, fun,
sure,
whatever.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I've been in this industry now for 11 years. I started as a sales administrator, just doing quotes, handing renewals, warranties, and as we've grown, kind of grew up the ladder, and now my main focus is making sure we're hitting our marks and hitting our revenue numbers. I've done account management, from sales administrative to account management, to doing new sales to farming. I've kind of touched all the bases when it's come to being a part of an MSP, and sometimes I've had to put on that sales engineering cap as well. So understand the technology landscape too, and I've just grown to love dealing with the type of clients that we deal with. Me personally, golf is a big thing for me. I love to golf. Me and my father, we love doing that. He's in a league, and sometimes I'm able to join him. But from a fun fact perspective, I guess if we're kicking it back to beyond here, 2 years ago was Nelly and last year was Ludacris. I didn't realize how much of a hip hop fan I am, because I knew every word from both Nelly and Ludacris's set. So maybe it's a hip hop fan, big hip hop fan or something.
There you go.
About me. Yes.
There you go. Cool deal. Yeah, I wonder who we're gonna have this year, but that's it's always interesting when you go to an industry event, because it's a long day of learning.
Sure.
And then it's like, okay, let's unleash with this great big party, right?
Yeah. Actually knows how to unleash, that's for sure.
No. And it's, from the standpoint of the IT industry conferences I've attended, from back when I was in my MSP, that was it. It was just so much learning, and then boom, you have this party, and then the flight home, you're just like, I'm done. I'm done. I can use a good night's sleep. So it's good to know. So you have also baby.
I've got a baby. Yeah, I've got a 8-month this week. Oliver Hughes. He's just the light of our lives. My wife and I, Kaylin, and yeah, that's been another challenge. I'm always into challenges. Sales is the biggest challenge. People really don't know how challenging sales is, and that's why I love it. And same with fatherhood. It's such a challenge. Every day is different. There's something new. My voice is a little hoarse. The first week of daycare with him brought something back, caught on to me. It's just every day is a challenge, but that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it fun.
The school thing is a circle of sickness.
Yeah.
Kids bring it home and roll around.
It's similar to sales. It's a circle of sickness. Yeah. Love closing the deals when you're in it. How does this feel? Yeah. It's very similar, actually, that I'm learning. But yeah.
I was hoping you said, being a parent is no joke. I got away from being a parent and basically, rather, getting out and being a salesperson. It's like, this is so much easier. Especially as every stage, it's like, man, this early stage is brutal. Wait till they become teenagers and going through that.
Yeah.
Different challenges at different stages. Like a sales life.
Yep, exactly. So that's all I could say about it. Yeah.
So what made you get into sales, and what do you like most about it?
Honestly, I don't know how the heck I got into sales, Keith. Honestly,
you didn't go to take college courses on sales.
Yeah, did not. It was just business.
They're not there.
I actually thought, my father worked for the airline industry 50 years. I thought it was going to be in the airline industry, and that was going to be my focus, whether, whatever it may be, station operation manager or, overseeing North Americas, whatever it may be. But, our IT company, my father's IT company was actually one of our founders, and they were close friends, and said, we needed a sales position. And right out of college, I was doing banking, and it just wasn't me. I went for business. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to take people out. I wanted to just build relationships. And I thought, my mom worked in sales her whole life and always on the phone, always talking. I know this person. I said, maybe that's how I have relationships. And, my CEO took a chance on me, and I said, all right, yeah, this might be the route. And 11 years later, we're here. And really what happened was, I'm a big, we're sports guys. I know you're Baltimore, right? Orioles and the Blackhawks hockey team. That's my number one sport, hockey. Detroit sucks is actually my first words. But I snuck into the 2013 Stanley Cup family party. That's the year I was hired at Ascentient, and snuck into the family party, somehow got in there and ended up partying with the family and players all night long. Got myself in there.
Wow, that's a fun fact.
Yeah, and Alex, our CEO, said, you know what? If you can get into a Blackhawks family party, you can get into any business around town. So why don't you come on over? And yeah, married the two together, from my mom doing sales and me getting into the party. I said, all right, sales it is. Let's rock and roll.
That's awesome. That's a great story there. So, my first words, ironically, were Yankees suck.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. Exactly.
No offense to my New York friends.
Yeah.
I'm just jealous of your 27 years. That's all. So, awesome. Good to hear. So, you've been selling IT services really, you've kind of been with Ascentient for 10, but most of that has been around selling. So what have you learned along the way? What are some of the victories?
Some of the victories is, number one, and people don't think about this in sales, is that, it's a lot easier selling to clients than it is to prospects.
Two different sales.
And it's not even sales, right? We like to call it, you're planning for the next year, not selling.
What problems do you have? How do I solve?
How do I solve that? We're budgeting out for the following year. So I've learned that, in sales, that, let's trusted foundation, what you're kind of building on with the prospect, is very key to deliver in those first 2 years, because then those legacy clients, man, it's not a sale. It's, you guys need to do this. You trust us. Here's what we're doing, next year and the following year. So that was a big thing I learned early on, as that I wasn't too much, pardon me, as I wasn't too much outside selling, that I was kind of selling to our clients, was just, it was around what they needed as a business. And if you can take that mindset and put that framework to potential prospects and potential clients, I think you have the ability to deliver more, because you can use those case studies, those examples, and talk to someone who doesn't trust you yet, and say, hey, I've done this with other companies. They're our client for 10 plus years. They wouldn't be for a reason. So that's a big thing that I've learned over the years, is trust is really big. Let's plan, not sell.
Yeah. Yeah, with clients, it's like when you're doing it, you've already built, and you said it, you've already established this know, like, and trust relationship, whether you personally, but definitely the company. It's not, they just don't know you at that point.
Right.
They know, the engineers, they know the people they talk to, the payroll people, whatever, accounts payable people. But they have that relationship. With a brand new client, they don't know you. And so you nail it on the head. That's actually selling there.
Yeah,
and
sure.
You've got to be able to tell stories. I think that's probably one of the biggest sales skill traits you have to have, is the ability to articulate your value and say, hey, don't take my word for it. Here's an instance where another client, same industry, had a very similar problem in what we did.
And I think that's where, for me, I'm in a unique position, because I've built the base that we've had at our company. So I have very strong relationships with, 70% of our clients, and a lot of the clients that we've brought on have come from me as well. But when you come to a new seller, you don't have those experiences to kind of go back on, and those clients to kind of reference. So I think it's big from a company or an organizational standpoint that you build those case studies, and you have those available for the next salesperson, that they can leverage the company story. I'm able to leverage my personal story because I built those relationships, but a company and another MSP, they should have those that foundation there, so their next seller can go, well, listen to this story. And they can tell the company story. So that trust, that foundation, being able to tell that story, I mean, that's been the biggest learning thing that I've learned over the past 10 years, is that's how you grow the company, is through that trust.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, there's always that one dynamic, is that communication of storytelling, instead of talking about your tools and services and getting into that. But at the end of the day, you can tell the best stories, but you have to have that data to back it up, whether it is a case study, a white paper, or, hey, here's a company, here's somebody to call, or go on our website and here's a video testimonial. Those are the proof points.
Those are huge. And that's what I'm working out to build out right now, is because it's always been my story. But now that we're growing, we need to have those videos. And that's what I've been working on with you with. We need to have those case studies, those foundations. So the next 3, 4, 5 Kevins can go ahead and have that available to them. I think that's so crucial, as I've learned just over these past 6 months with you, Keith, but just over my past, 10 plus years, is that's big. That's what, to be able to call another company, and that company goes, oh, Kevin and his team, they're fantastic. I give them my kid's life and my company right together.
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. And on top of it, it's like, here's the problems they solved for us, and these are the results as a outcome of working with these guys, right?
Yeah,
that's awesome. So, you being in sales, I remember my time in sales. You just never stop learning. I kind of jokingly said, there's no college for selling, right? We're not going to a university and saying, I want to major in sales. It just doesn't happen. We kind of fall into this profession.
Yep.
But once you're in here, you're actually training on your masters of selling, and you never stop learning. So what have you done over the years to improve your sales skills and your sales abilities?
Man, that's a great question, Keith. reflecting. A big thing, what I do is, coming from sports, is film. Game tape is always critical to advance your skills. I played college soccer. I've played at the semi-professional level. The biggest thing is always looking at the tape and seeing what you could have done better and seeing what you did well. So for me is making sure I am reviewing back, and now that we have the technology to do so, to record all of my conversations and record everything that I'm doing.
AI, I mean, there's AI tools that can do this.
And
too, right?
review back how that went, whether from success and failure. Okay, well, I failed on this. Well, let's go through that sales journey on those, couple meetings that I had, because, sometimes you're lucky to get 6 meetings, but a lot of times it's just 3 or 4 meetings that you get, right? And so reflection and reviewing the work is the biggest thing that I've been able to do to hone in on trying crafting my own sales. I'm kind of self-taught in the sales, and a lot of MSPs, as owners, as one-man sales, if you guys understand that when you're an MSP, you're kind of fighting for yourself and learning as you go. And that's kind of what I did. And now that we have the resources to reach out to coaching, this is another avenue that I'm able to learn from other sales professionals. But really for me personally, it's always been reviewing the tape, and seeing those successes and what wasn't successful, and kind of powering up what I'm really good at, and what areas were really strong is kind of what I focused on more, and try to hone up on those other skills that I wasn't as good at. But I said, well, if I'm very good in these 2 areas out of the 5 selling, right, let's dial up there, because that's a good focus of mine, and I really can attract people from those avenues, reflecting the tape is really looking at the tape is how I've really learned.
Yeah, you said a few things here that I want to touch on. So one, I've told you this, the best salespeople played sports, involved in sports. Not saying that others that weren't in sports aren't good, but you have that mentality of a team environment, but also constantly working on your game, right? Especially when you get to the collegiate level, the time somebody has to invest to get to that level and make that happen is much harder than being a high school athlete. So I always liked that trait when I was interviewing and hiring salespeople. You mentioned about the reviewing the tape, right? That's the key. Is where am I strong at? Where am I weak at? Or not as good at? And practicing on it, right?
Yeah.
Not practicing in front of a prospect.
No.
It's like big no, right? Like I almost like jump out of my chair when a MSP tells me, yeah, they're really not the right size and all, but we figured we'd go have the meeting because we wanted to practice on them. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Like, even though they're not the right fit, they could be a referral source. And if you're practicing on your prospect,
not good. Some places where I practice, like I said, my mother was very good in sales. I'd use her in my earlier on career, and I actually had such good relationships with a few of my clients. Sometimes I would actually practice with them. If I was coming in here and I'd had these kind of discussions with you or talked about this, if you didn't know me, how would you feel on this? That back to that trust foundation. I mean, it would be in our office, we'd do some role playing. I'd do some role playing with close family, but for the close clients that are really glued and they're on the same level as you of growth, right? That's one of our TCP metrics. One of them is growth minded. So, our clients are about growth. They understand what we're trying to accomplish as well. And I would dummy it off them, and I'd work with them as well. And how does this sound to you guys?
Yeah.
So
you got family, like active listening and communication are, to me, the top sales traits, right? The best salespeople are thoughtful listeners, not only from a standpoint, actually active listening, where you're trying to understand and what the person's saying and how they feel and how it's impacting them, and you nail that, right? So I'm not the best listener. As humans, we're not. We got these phones, and we got all these other distractions that pull us away. We could be in a meeting with a prospect, and we're sitting there and we're thinking about the next meeting we have to do or something we have to do on the home front. Minor distractions that take you away from truly active listening.
Yeah.
That's the key, is like being able to listen better and communicate, not only communicate verbally, but non-verbally too, non-verbal cues
For
and
sure.
such, right? So yeah, I love this conversation. So I guess I'll pivot to you. I kind of gave you a couple of mine. What are some of your, I guess from a standpoint, sales skills you feel are vital to be successful in sales?
Man, I'm going to go back to the trust, but being transparent don't oversell and over communicate to the client or the potential prospect. You need to keep it at the level you're at. Speak actually on the experiences and knowledge you have, not what some new article or buzzword or something's telling you about. You got to have it at a real playing field. So for me, being real with the potential prospect is huge. And being yourself is also another thing. Listen, they're going to do business with you. If you're acting as someone else and putting on this front, and then all of a sudden behind the curtains, it's a totally different thing. What are you doing? That it's the same in life and relationships, right? You're looking for someone to spend your life with, and you're trying to act like this one person, but behind doors is who you actually are, something different. So being real about yourself, letting them into who you are is a huge skill for me, I think. And then for me, over 10 years of my experience and now being on the leadership level at Ascentient, I have an understanding of ownership level mindset and what it means to have a budget and the bottom line, and what it means to grow a company, and what your personnel mean to the tools that you're using in the software and efficiencies. So I'm able to build a trust, be real with myself, not expand my knowledge, but then bring the business side of the ball, which I think is my third biggest catalyst. I understand when I'm talking to a CFO or COO or COO, this is your business. You hold other people's hands in your lives. I understand it. I get that personally. So bringing back the business piece is that third thing for me on that, Keith.
That is huge from a standpoint. This is for all the salespeople that are out there, and even MSP owners. MSP owners feel like, well, I'm not a good salesperson. You have a distinct advantage as an executive and owner, is that you're an entrepreneur, executive and owner, and can have that C-level to C-level conversation.
Big differentiator.
So even though you don't have the sales experience, you do have that advantage. So for salespeople, you have the sales advantage. And the best salespeople in this IT services industry are the ones that say, I need to elevate my status up to C-level.
Yeah.
And you can't do that by bloviating all over the place about how good your company is. It's seeking to understand, put yourself in that buyer's shoes as an executive, and each executive is different, of like, hey, what's impacting their life at this time?
And it's not from even, and you can learn that from all over. My wife works in the tech space too. We have business conversations at the dinner table, whether we like it or not. But we talk about, I learned so much from her experiences and how her CEO and how her and her leadership team handle scenarios and how they handle client services and things of that nature. So you can learn, and you don't have to be an executive or have the CEO title or something like this to understand the mind frame of what it is to be an owner and to be in that C-suite and to be the one writing the checks and the one that's signing off on a new IT provider. Right. If you clue into those certain situations and just use the people around you and ask those questions. I learned so much from just the table and my wife and how they handle certain processes. And, hey, maybe we can adopt that for our own or change something like that. So if you're thinking and that, like back to that sales skill set, if you think like a business like owner mind, it's such an advantage. You can set yourself apart there. And now you're talking business. You're not selling again.
Yeah.
Let me help you plan.
Yep.
Has your MSP talked about this? And if they haven't, they should be. And here's how we're going to do it for you.
Yeah. Or like you and I talked about, you almost state it in a way that they're getting, hey, when you're I'm sure when you're sitting down with your current IT provider and you're going through your strategic plannings with them. You talk about this, this, and this. Meanwhile, in their head, they're like, you don't
I don't talk about that. Yeah.
They don't ask me about that, right?
Yeah.
So you're kind of like almost kind of creating that wedge there.
For sure.
Nice. I'm going to pivot over to prospecting because I get this a lot. Like, we're looking for leads. We're looking for ways to get business. So
everybody is.
Yeah. So from a standpoint of prospecting tactics as part of your prospecting plan, what do you find to be the most effective that's actually filling the sales funnel?
So first is referrals. Of course, referral. That's number one, right? Your clients are your biggest advocate. They are your biggest people. They are your sales machine.
Most people don't ask first and foremost,
Yeah.
and then two, our clients aren't salespeople, so we gotta ask them. Hey, they know people, so how about an intro?
Exactly, and your own people are also that on the referral nature. It's something that we've adopted, and it's we call it Just Grow, and it's our growth culture, and whether it's technician, engineer, accounting, we tell them, hey, if you're having a good conversation and you had a good experience with this end user or this AP person or this AR person, stop them right there and just ask. The just ask, just grow culture, and just say, hey, you like this experience? You got anyone else that maybe would benefit from a conversation that we've had or the services that we provide to you? So referrals, not only from clients, but your own people referring out. That's number one for us.
I love that. Yeah. Just ask, just grow.
Yeah.
Your engineers, they're not salespeople at all.
Not at all.
Most of them are.
And that's why we don't classify it as that. So, it's a growth culture.
Just give me
just ask, just grow,
Yeah.
And that's now a core value we've added this year of ours is to just grow. And then underneath that is our just ask culture. It's hey, you grow in your own personal, whether, growing your skills, but also we want to grow as a company. Let's just grow.
So what's your, you look at, put myself in the engineer shoes, like engineer knows the more we grow, the busier I get. And that, same thing with your admin people. So how do you, if this is a culture, like what are you doing from a culture standpoint to get them to, like you said, technicians out at a client.
Yep.
And they're having, clients like singing their praises. What's going to make them incentivize them, because they're in their mind, they're like, oh, if I add more clients, Kevin goes out and sells more clients. That just makes me busier, and I'm pretty busy enough.
We have a commission structure in place for those guys, and they, just for a 5-minute intro meeting, they're getting some dough. If I'm ever to land a meeting, they're getting more money that way, and
nice.
And then on top of that, we try to let them know, we're still in our mind, it's from a leadership perspective with our ultimate growth goals, our 2 or 5 or 10-year plan. We're not there yet. So we have big time aspirations, guys, technically still at the ground floor here. So another thing to think about is not only the money you're going to be getting now on this, as an extra, but like, if you helped us out, hey, this could be your future too, and you could be
opportunities.
You can be the head of engineering and the head of technicians, and we can have multiple help desks and so we're trying to just kind of pull that out of the team. And first, of course, is incentivizing, but we thought, let's add it as a core value of ours.
Yeah.
And parse that to just
create leadership opportunities. Like,
exactly.
It's a long-term vision for not only you, but also for those employees to see, hey, I'm at Ascentient. We're going to be here long-term. As we grow, I go.
Yeah, exactly. That's so that's the mindset. We give the commission some commission, but we also just try to think about, hey, here's our long-term goals. That's where we want to be at. Do you want to be a part of it?
Nice. Yeah, I like, referrals are certainly the easier way. You look at most of our buyers, let's go there. If you have a problem, like if they're having a problem, they're going to try to research that problem. They're not waiting for a salesperson to call.
No.
And when they're done, like they're totally fed up with their current IT provider, whether it's lousy service or a cyber incident, whatever it might be, they're going to call people in there that they know, other executives that they know, and say, hey, who do you use?
And that's the number 2. one right there, Keith. So the referral and then building up your network, inner network, right? And I've been building that up now over the past year and a half, 2 years, more extensively in the past 6 months. But, it's not even building a network of 20 people or 30. Let's have a core 5, 6, 7, 10 that we all trust each other. We're very strong. We provide. We know what each other does, and we're there to refer business to each other because we're close knit and we know we do a good job. That if I put my name on Keith, I know Keith is gonna deliver, and that's why I refer Keith, and Keith's gonna refer Kevin because he knows Kevin can deliver, and just a referral from one person, once a year or so, it's huge, right? And if you have 5 core people that are giving you a referral each year, that is 5 clients you can knock that already have a leg up. That some MSPs don't even see 1 or 2 new clients in a year.
No.
So that's where I'm at. That's my number 2, is having a close-knit referral network, the network that you can trust and rely on. And again, it could be start off with 1 or 2 people, right?
It's not quantity.
It's quality. It's the quality piece. So yeah, that's number 2 for me, Keith.
Those are 1 and 2, right? 1A, 1A, 1B. But yeah, I met monthly with a core group of it was 4 or 5 of us, and they were my best referral sources. Then you can put this thing on steroids and say, look, I'd be super happy. If somebody needs IT services, I'll value that that referral. We also focus on these industries, and I'll take just a introduction, like you said, vouch for me, and let them know.
5-minute intro. That's it.
Yep.
Let me talk to them 5 minutes whether they need us now or not.
There.
Yeah, I know. I wonder who told me about those 5-minute intros. But it's good, and then they're in your back pocket per se, and it's just a leg up there. You gotta have, and especially for us in the Chicagoland market. I mean, there's 1,000 in a million MSPs, right? And that's in the United States, but in Chicago, I mean, you're filtered. You alone in our geographical area, there's hundreds, right? See how you get a leg up. Marketing is great. Okay. It is. It's where they can go to refer or to look at your studies and see if you're polished and that you're talking about the right things and you've got the industry knowledge, and it's there for a backing. It's there for a check. It's not to do the lead generation.
Right.
Marketing is not for the lead generation.
Marketing fill the pipeline.
It doesn't fill the pipeline, but this fills the pipeline, right?
Marketing builds familiarity.
Correct.
Sales goes out and creates the interest.
And the only way you're doing that is if you got a core foundation, and it starts with your clients and then starts with the close people and then let's go from there.
Right. Beautiful. Yeah, I'll touch a little more on that on the outro, but yeah, you said a couple things here. From a sales process standpoint, what are the things that go on during a sales process that separates you from the competition and gets results?
I'd like to kind of dive into stuff straight away. And I like to put it in, for potential prospects that are watching, I kind of like to put it in their court. And I like to interview them. So, I want to see, have you already thought about creating an IT budget? What do you think about technology? How do you leverage it to improve your processes? I kind of throw those questions that we're going to be helping them on to see where they're at, because
see if they value you as an IT provider.
Yes, and let's see their value, because if they look at the IT provider and what they're looking for as another line item on their monthly P&L, I don't want to do business.
Would you mention you want to work with businesses that are in a growth minded mindset?
Correct.
Right. So those are great questions to kind of find out. Are they in a growth minded mindset?
Yeah.
So you come out and say, hey, are you growth minded?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
No. Yeah. You kind of infer hey, have you thought about this? Why are we? What are you looking for? Is it I'm in the middle of one that is investigating. We're going to potentially be their first MSP. But I've asked those questions. They now understand they're at a point where they need a technology provider. So for me, I like to qualify the prospect early on so that now I haven't spent on those levels. Now I haven't spent 4 or 5 months, because sometimes sales cycle could be 60 days. Sometimes it can be 180 days, right? So that if I'm qualifying on meeting 1, hopefully, or if it's meeting 2, maybe it's a 5-minute intro, then we're doing a discovery call. But I'm making sure I'm probing them earlier into the conversation, because my time is valuable too. Our time is valuable too. We own a business as well. Like, yeah, I'm trying to help your business, but I'm also a business. And so to not be afraid to evaluate the potential prospect, because, as much as they're worth it for you, or as much as, you need to evaluate their worth to you guys. Well,
I always say that, like, you're not only there to see if you're a good fit for them, but are they a good fit for you?
So I think that's a big differentiator for me in the sales cycles. Earlier on, I'm checking that business side of the ball.
Yep.
And I'm qualifying what they deem on the technology front as important or not.
So vital. It turns your, otherwise, and I see this all the time, is, I've got my pipeline's totally full. Look at this. Yeah, it's full of junk. It's like, hey, man, look at all the green in my garden. You've got 3/4 of that is weeds, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're not doing yourself any good if you're not talking to the people that are ready to buy and ready to buy from you in your way, not trying to make it the other way around, right?
And it could feel uncomfortable too. Okay, so as a salesperson who's building a pipeline, and maybe you're reporting to someone or you're holding on your own, it could be, it feels more comfortable that I have these 20 leads on my sheets as opposed to 5. But, I now have learned I feel more comfortable with 5 strong leads, and 3 of them I'm at an 80% mark, because we've had some deep level intimate conversation on their business, where those other 20, the 20 on there, again, it's just flowing to us. If I'm looking at it, and our pipeline for our forecast filters in the budget, whether it's actual or not, and it affects our budget, right? So if we're at an 80% mark, it's actually affecting our overall budget for the year from the forecast and how those numbers alter. I want to have more of those on there, because I can really see what the revenue is going to change. If I'm at 40%, 30% deal, I'm still just talking to them. It's not value. So that's why I like to qualify earlier on the business aspect, because later on in the sales cycle, I have a better feeling that they're going to come home with Ascentient.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of power into the word of, like, I don't think you're ready for us yet, or you're not quite ready at this point to buy.
Right.
To be able to say that, like, this has been a strong conversation. Think about this. Some of the best things that you have, and I see this too, is you start talking to a prospect and they're just kicking the tires. They're just either their agreement's up. Usually that's the case. Or they're just like, hey, let's see what else is out there. And they have no intention of switching providers. You got to root that out.
Correct.
Because if you start taking them through the sales cycle and you deliver them a proposal, you're, again, the weeds in your garden, they're not quite there. You've just spent more time and resources that it's no point in talking about it now. It's like, hey, this would be next, but it's when you're ready. This is your time frame, not mine.
Right. So say I have 5 of these people in my garden, right? And actually one of them is truly intent. And I've got 5 days in the week. Instead of being able to spend the 5 days with that one intent, and this is just an example.
Great example.
I've now spent a day each promoting. My focus has been separated. Instead, I could have spent one time really diving into the business, talking to the head of accounting on Monday, talking to COO on Tuesday, talking to the controller on Wednesday, talking to the warehouse manager on Thursday, right? And all of a sudden, I've now got 5 points that I can go back to my meeting next week and say, okay, well, I talked to, the warehouse manager, and I talked to, your clerk, and I talked to your controller, and they all said this was a problem for them, and here's something that we do to help, fix that, right? Instead, I was spending a day at each different company and not really learning too much about their business, and not providing the value that I need to provide to clients that we're looking to have, or that we want to provide to our clients. So weeding that out, making sure their intent to buy is huge, because I'd rather spend 5 days on the attention than 5 different days on someone who's just kind of looking for some numbers.
Yeah. People that are ready to buy. And also, you kind of also, where is their growth stage in their journey, right? Where's their maturity rate from, like you said, hey, people are ready to grow. Where are they on that spectrum? Could be wide or big. So focusing in on the people that are ready to buy, and the other folks, let marketing kind of keep in touch with them. You can touch base times. Hey, we're having this webinar. Like, doesn't mean if because they're not doing business with you today, if they're a good fit from a TCP standpoint, right size, right industry, things like that, we can continue to nurture them for when they are ready to buy.
100%. And that OML is big. That operation maturity level, something we've learned over the past 3 years, 4 years with C-level and PAX 8. It's just, what's your technology operational maturity level at? Where's that at? Let me understand that. And that's like I said, that's a part of the qualifying for me, because if you're just going to look at us as a expense on the P&L, then we're not going to be we're not a right fit for you.
That's right. You gotta get the meeting first and then figure that out. And keep in touch with them, right? You never know when they're going to mature into that spot.
Yeah, and you could come on back and talk to me, and I'd be able to help you on that journey as well. I feel like that's a big value add for us, is that we're not just on the technology journey, we're on a business journey together too. We're learning how to grow as well, as a business.
For sure.
Yeah, so
for sure.
Hey, if we want to bounce ideas off of how we're growing as a company and what you do too, that's what we're here for. We're here for more than technology.
Let these prospects that are not quite ready to buy yet, connect them with somebody in their industry that is one of your clients, and
they might be able to help you out. Yeah.
It's that one hand up, one hand down, right? Somebody that's been doing it longer, friendly competitor. Depends on the industry, of course.
Right.
As construction, and that was typically not a good thing. And they were already friends or they were already enemies. So good stuff.
Yeah.
So from a standpoint, you mentioned it. We've been working together for pretty much 6 months. I've been your coach. From a standpoint of, what's something that you've learned along this journey the last 6 months that you didn't know before? That's helping you with your abilities and effectiveness as a salesperson?
Man, there's been a lot. So, not just because I'm on Keith's podcast, his knowledge, like one of the big things, right, is for me, it has been reflection and learning about myself. But now that I've gotten to sit down with Keith and you, as who's been through it and has had that experience, taking your experiences when you bring them back to our conversations each Tuesday, that's just been tremendous. Here, I've heard this before, and here is how I would have acted in that situation. We have actually, the program that I touched on earlier, as far as our just ask, just grow, mindset, that's actually came from you. We implemented that and said, you know what, let's get back to the engineers. If they just book me a 5-minute intro, and someone that had a good conversation, they worked well, tell them to talk to Kevin, and we just take 5 minutes. We implemented that actually from you. So that's big. And the other thing for me has been, and we've touched on in the past month here, is the qualifying 2.0. So, I qualify on the forefront of the business aspect and everything, but you only get what I've learned, and I've learned from my own experience of what I've learned from Keith, is you only really get 3 or 4 meetings, but you got to have those meetings have as much as the C-suite in there, as much as the buying power. We've got our buyers, and we've got, the economic buyer, and we've got the technical buyer. But if we can get everyone in the room together, how do we do that? What's a way we can do that? That's that qualifying 2.0 step, whether it's doing an assessment, whether it is walking around at the client's facility, talking to other members, whatever that may be, to bring those conversations back to who you've been working with or having all in the same room. That's been a big learning experience for me. It's just, let's get as many of the executive people in a room or talk to them as possible and relate what their employees are seeing. Let's get the qualifying 2.0. Then we know they're interested. If they're not wanting to talk about the business or let us talk to other people or let us do a high-level assessment or something like this, well, then maybe they're not that interested in you. And they pass the sniff test of the business side that I'm qualifying for. But now when you really want to get into the weeds and touch something, literally, you're touching a piece of their equipment, they're going,
Yeah. Or the intro to other people, right? This is the key. We're trying to build know, like, and trust. Some people come to us via referral. Others, they stumbled on our website or things like that. We need to figure out which is what's their temperature. It's a temperature check with that buyer to see where we rank.
Yeah.
If they're not letting you come in, like, we talked about the assessment side, right? And if they're not letting you come in to do an assessment, more importantly, they're not letting you talk to other stakeholders in the building or introduce you to other people inside the company to get a bigger, broader sense of it. We usually hear it as like, here, this is from the point person. Now, at the end of the day, I am the full and only decision maker here, Kevin. At the end of the day, I'm the one that's going to make this decision. You hear that in IT services and in business world today, there's multiple buyers inside an organization.
So I think that's been a huge, for me, learning from you is just, how do you kind of attack that? How do you attack those multiple buyers, and really refine and mature? Again, all my sales have been really self-taught. I've done some like the Sandler's training and like reviewing back, but I've never really had a, go to conferences and you go and sit in a 20-minute session. That's great, but that's not gonna take you to another level here. And with our mindset of being wanting to grow, we said it was time to invest in sales. It's time to invest in marketing. It's time to make an island in a country. I guess you could say, right? Nice. And so it's been great working with you, Keith, and really has built the framework and a result selling framework for my future sales team and my future marketing team, right? So I'm trying to build out and we've talked about it. Keith always checks, well, all right, do you have your floor ready? Okay, before we start building the walls and the windows and everything, what's the base? Make sure our base is good. So that's what I'm doing right now. I want to make sure our base is solid. So Kevin Jr. can come on in. Kevin Jr., and we've got a whole room of juniors. Is good, and that they can take Ascentient's playbook, right? I want to be able to have this type of dialogue. I want to do that with the future of Ascentient. I want to be in the room and say, okay, guys, it's our coaching session today, and we're talking about this, and we're able to do this with future Ascentient employees. So laying the framework, not being afraid to talk to the other executives, and those 5-minute intros. Those have been the big 3 things that I've taken back from these past 6 months.
Man, that's only 6 months.
That's only 6 months too. Yeah.
Wait for the next 6. Take it to the next level.
Fantastic. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's grow. Let's go. Let's grow. How I roll, Keith.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, my friend.
I appreciate
good to see you and have you here and do this. This has been a lot of knowledge. Anything like a last minute thing, words of wisdom for any salespeople that are listening?
Hey, don't just get after it. You hear it from Michael Jordan. You hear it from Greg. You hear it from all. If you fail, you fail. It's learning, looking at those experiences and figuring out what works well for you and what doesn't, and honing in on that and just getting after it. It's okay. Just as long as you push forward and have trust in yourself, you're going to fall. I continue to fall all the time, just like my 8-month-year-old, right? But
That's right.
eventually he's going to be walking. As many times as he falls, he's going to keep on going. So that's it. Just get after it, go through it, and enjoy it. Have fun with it. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just enjoy.
Great way to end this segment. So yeah, appreciate that. So kind of an outro from on this segment. Sales is around long-term play. Our sales cycle can vary from months to years, especially when you're focusing on a target industry. So these introductions you get from people and go from there, just, make it happen. Kevin mentioned it is like you want to focus on the ones that are ready to buy, but we're constantly planting these seeds and cultivating the ground. That's what good gardener, I'm just using my gardening references here, but you got to be able to do that and be able to, so that way you can really focus on the long-term pipeline, filling that pipeline long-term. So it's, Kevin mentioned it. It's around quality over quantity when it comes to the pipeline and doing the right things, which you mentioned. So hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to like or subscribe, and wherever you stream your podcast, make sure you like and subscribe it. There's plenty of other sales content in there. And if you like today's episode, please share it with others. Give us a quick review. We're on YouTube, and like I said, anywhere you stream podcasts. So, Kevin, thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks again, Keith. Appreciate it.
Good seeing you. We'll see you on the next Result Selling Framework podcast.